Good evening, everyone. I've got two different readings from Phra Ajahn Lee. They're both about kilesas, hindrances, defilements, and hopefully their ending also. We'll see how much we get through. One is from his collected writings, and one is from a Dhamma talk. So we're going to start with the collected writing. And the last thing I'll say is in this reading, he's also, it looked good to read. After finishing reading about the kilesas, he has a summary of all four frames of references, So I read that and I thought it was a good thing to read also. So mental qualities. Mental qualities as a frame of reference can be divided into three sorts: inner mental qualities, outer mental qualities, and mental qualities in and of themselves. Inner mental qualities can be either good or bad, but here we will deal only with the five hindrances, nivarana, which are bad. 1. Kamachanda, sensual desire. 2. Bhayapada, ill will, malevolence. 3. Tinamida, sloth and drowsiness. 4. Udacha kukacha, restlessness and anxiety. And 5. Vichikicha, uncertainty. These five hindrances can be either inner or outer phenomena. For example, the mind gives rise to sensual desire, but hasn't yet streamed out to fix its desires on any particular object. The mind gives rise to a sense of irritation and displeasure, but without yet fixing on any particular object. A state of drowsiness arises in the mind without yet fixing on a particular object. The mind is restless, anxious, and disturbed on its own without yet fixing on any particular object. The mind is doubtful and uncertain, unable to think anything through, but without yet fixing on any particular object. It's simply that way on its own. If these five hindrances are still weak and haven't yet streamed out to become involved with any external objects, they are called inner mental qualities. Outer mental qualities simply come from the inside. Once the mind has given rise to a sense of desire, it streams out and fixes on such external objects as sights, sounds, smells, tastes, etc. Once the mind has given rise to a sense of irritation, it streams out and fixes on a sight, sound, smell, taste, etc., and then dislikes its object, wanting it to be destroyed. The mind, already in a state of torpor, streams out and fixes on an outer object. Once it's fixed on an outer object, it then becomes even more torpid. The mind, already restless, streams out to fix on such outer objects as sights, sounds, smells, tastes, etc. A mental state of uncertainty arises in the mind, and the mind lets it stream out to fix on such external objects as sights, etc. These are thus called outer mental qualities. When any mental quality first arises in the mind, it's called an inner quality. When it flares up, grows stronger, and streams out to an outer object, it's called an outer quality. Mental qualities in and of themselves. This means to focus on any one of these hindrances, because not all five hindrances can appear in the same mental moment. You can thus pick out any hindrance at all to focus on and examine. For example, suppose that sensual desire has appeared. Keep your alertness firmly in place at the heart, and use your mindfulness to keep the mind on the phenomenon. Don't waver, and don't let any hopes or wishes arise. Keep your mind firmly in one place. Don't go dragging any other objects in to interfere. Focus your powers of ardent investigation down on nothing but the quality appearing in the present. As long as you haven't gained clear, true insight into it, don't let up on your efforts. When you can do this, you are developing mental qualities in and of themselves as a frame of reference. The qualities mentioned above are all unskillful qualities, akusala dhamma. They act as obstacles to such things as jhana, liberating insight, and the transcendent. Thus, if you want to gain release from them, you must first center the mind firmly in concentration. To be able to center the mind firmly, you have to develop the following three qualities within yourself. 1. Sampajanya, alertness. Always have this firmly in place. 2. Sati, mindfulness. Keep the mind in firm reference to whatever quality has arisen within it. Watch after the quality to keep it with the mind. Watch after the mind to make sure that it doesn't lose aim and go slipping off to other objects. Once you see that the mind and its object have been compatible with each other, use 3. Atapa, the power of focused investigation, to get to the facts of the quality. If you haven't yet gained clear and true insight, don't relax your efforts. Keep focusing and investigating until the power of your discernment is concentrated and strong, and you will come to know that mental qualities, whether inner, outer, or in and of themselves, simply arise, fade, and disband. There's nothing of lasting worth to them because they are all sankata dhamma, fabricated phenomena, and whatever is fabricated falls under the truths of aniccatta, inconstancy, dukkha, stress, i.e., it's hard to bear, and anatta, it's not you, yours, or anyone else's. It simply changes in line with natural conditions. No one with any real discernment holds onto these qualities as self or as anything of lasting worth, because such people have seen that these things are like wheels or gears. Whoever holds on to them will have to be trampled or mashed. Thus, if you hope for the genuine happiness offered by the Buddha's teachings, you should take the 3 qualities mentioned above and make them permanent features of your heart, and you will come to see clearly the quality free from fabrication, called the unfabricated, asankata Dhamma, the genuine Dhamma. Uncreated, uncaused, it simply is by its very nature. It doesn't circle about, arising and passing away. The unfabricated is a perfectly ordinary part of nature, yet no one in the world can know it aside from those who have developed virtue, concentration, and discernment. So if you sincerely want to go beyond suffering and stress, you should work to give rise to clear and true insight through your own efforts. When you can keep your alertness constantly in place, you will be able to know the nature of the mind. Your powers of reference and focused investigation will have to be constantly in place within for you not to be misled by the objects and preoccupations of the mind. Most of us, ordinarily, have no clear sense of our own nature, and so we can't clearly see the thoughts and urges that arise within us. As a result, we go out to fasten upon their objects, giving rise to the wheel of wandering on, vata samsara, circling around and around without end. Here I will refer to the wheel within. Not knowing the primal nature of the mind is the cycle of defilement, kilesa vata, or unawareness, which is the beginning of the cycle. This gives rise to fabrication, which is the cycle of intention and action, kama vata. This in turn leads us to experience mental objects and preoccupations, which is the cycle of retribution, vipaka vata. Thus there are 3 parts of the cycle. The 3 parts of the cycle can be illustrated as follows. Unawareness as the hub of the wheel, fabrications are the spokes, and mental preoccupations the rim. The sensory organs form the yoke and harness, sensory objects are the oxen, and the driver is birth, aging, illness, and death. Now pile on your belongings, your defilements, and with a lash of the whip you're off. The oxen drag you away, leading you up the mountains and down, until the end you crash and are smashed to smithereens, i.e., death. For this reason, you must make our awareness penetrate onto the nature of the mind at the center of the axle, which doesn't turn with the wheel and which is said to be uncycling, vivata. Whoever can do this will find that the path is sudden and short, not slow. For example, in ancient times, monks and lay disciples were able to reach awakening even while sitting and listening to a sermon, while going for alms, or while gazing at a corpse. From this we can gather that after imbuing themselves with the qualities mentioned above, They focused their investigation on that particular point and gained clear and true insight right then and there, without having to pull in or out, back or forth. They were able to let go naturally, with no in or out, no coming or going. Those who investigate will see the truth. Some people believe that they will have to abandon all mental preoccupations before they can train the mind. But the truth of the matter is that the mind is usually deluded right there at its preoccupations, and the spot where you are deluded is the spot you have to investigate. If you don't solve the problem right where you're deluded, don't believe that you can let go by hiding out or running away. Even if you do run away and hide, you'll end up coming back and falling for the same old preoccupations once more. People of discernment, though, whether they deal with what is inside or out, can give rise to virtue, concentration, discernment, and release in every context. They have no sense that the inside is right and the outside wrong, that the inside is wrong and the outside right, or that the inside is refined and the outside base. Such opinions never occur to people of discernment. Discernment has to be all around knowing, or knowing all around before it can be called full-fledged discernment. Knowing all around means to know the inside first and then the outside. All around knowing means to know the outside first and then to bring that awareness all the way in. This is why they are called people of discernment. They can bring the outside in. What is base, they can make refined. Past and future they can bring into the present, because they have brought the parts of the path together in equal measure: mindfulness, alertness, and focused investigation, each performing its duties, forming the way that leads beyond all suffering and stress. Those who can do this will be able to reach the truth in any posture. All that will appear to them will be the condition of stress, sabhava dukkha, and the condition of things in themselves, sabhava dhamma. To see things this way is called yatha bhuta jnana, seeing things for what they really are. Summary. This is the summary of all 4 frames of references. The 4 frames of reference can be reduced to 2, physical and mental phenomena, or, another way of putting it, body and mind. Even though they are divided into 4, it is simply the current of the mind that it's divided. When you come to the essence of the practice, it all boils down to the body and mind. If you want really to simplify the practice, you should focus on investigating the body, and then focusing on investigating the mind. To focus on investigating the body, be aware of any one aspect of the body, such as the breath, and then when you can keep focused on it accurately, spread your awareness to observe other aspects of the body, examining them from various angles. While making your investigation, though, don't let go of your original focus, the breath. Keep examining things until you've gained clear and true insight into the aspects of the body, and the mind will become more quiet, still and subtle than before. If anything arises while you're investigating, don't fasten onto it in any way. To focus on investigating the mind, set your awareness at one spot or another, and keep that awareness perfectly still. After your mind has been still long enough, examine the ways it then changes and moves, until you can see that its movements, whether good or bad, are simply a form of fabrication, sankhara. Don't let yourself become preoccupied with anything you may come to know, think, or see while examining. Keep your awareness in the present. When you can do this, your mind is headed towards peace and clear insight. This way of practice falls in line with all 4 of the frames of reference. When you can do this, you will give rise to the mental moment that forms the path. And the moment the path arises in full power is the moment you can let go. Letting go has 2 forms. 1, being able to let go of mental objects, but not of one's own mind. 2, being able to let go both of the objects of the mind and of oneself. To be able to let go of both one's objects and oneself is genuine knowing. To be able to let go of one's objects, but not of oneself, is counterfeit knowing. Genuine knowing lets go of both ends. It lets the object follow its own nature as an object, and lets the mind follow the nature of the mind. In other words, it lets nature look after itself. Object here means the body. Self refers to the heart. You have to let go of both. When your knowledge can reach this level, you don't have to worry much about virtue, concentration, or discernment. Virtue, concentration, and discernment aren't the nature of the mind, nor is the nature of the mind virtue, concentration, and discernment. Virtue, concentration, and discernment are simply fabricated phenomena, tools for extinguishing defilement. When defilement is extinguished, then virtue, concentration, and discernment disband as well. Virtue, concentration, and discernment are like water. Defilement is like a fire. The mind is like the person using the water to put out the fire. When the water has put out the flames, the water itself has vanished, but the person putting out the fire hasn't disappeared. The fire isn't the water isn't the fire, the person isn't the water isn't the person isn't the fire isn't the person. The genuine nature of the mind isn't defilement, nor is it virtue, concentration, and discernment. It simply is, in line with its own nature. Those who don't know the nature of the truth maintain that death is annihilation, or that nibbana is annihilation of one sort or another. This is simply their own misunderstanding. Even those who have gone no higher than the level of stream entry are able to know that the true nature of the mind isn't in any way annihilated, which is why they are people of strong, unwavering conviction, believing in the paths and their fruitions. Even though their hearts aren't yet entirely free from the admixture of defilements, those defilements can't efface the true nature of their hearts. Just as an ingot of gold, when it falls into the dirt, may be covered with soot, but the soot can't turn it into anything other than gold. This is unlike ordinary run-of-the-mill people. An ordinary person's mind may be pure from time to time, but it doesn't stay that way. It can't escape from being defiled again, just as a sharpened knife will stay in shape only if it is kept bathed in oil. If you put the knife to use and forget to keep it bathed, the steel of the blade might turn into something other than steel. Thus, each of us should enthusiastically make the effort to reach at least the stream, for although all the qualities I've mentioned, whether fabricated or unfabricated, lie mixed within every one of us, none of them are as exalted as Viraga Dhamma, the act of dispassion that extracts the unfabricated from the fabricated, as gold is extracted from crude ore. The Buddha's teachings are subtle and deep. Whoever isn't set on truly putting them into practice won't know their taste. Like a cowherd hired to watch over cattle without ever knowing the taste of their milk. Thus we are taught, to study is to know the texts, to practice is to know your defilements, to attain the goal is to know and let go. So that was his writing, and his talk, jump a couple pages in, but this talk is called An Inner Mainstay, given on August 28th, 1957. Most of us tend to flow along in the direction of what's bad more than in the direction of what's good. When people try to convince us to do good, they have to give us lots of reasons, and even then we hardly budge. But if they try to talk to us about doing bad, all they have to do is say one or two words, and we're already running with them. This is why the Buddha said, people are foolish. They like to feed on bad preoccupations. And that's not all. We even feed on things that have no truth to them at all. We can't be bothered with thinking about good things, but we like to keep clamoring after bad things, trying to remember them and keep them in mind. We don't get to eat any meat or sit on any skin, and yet we choke on the bones. We don't get to eat any meat. This means that we gather up imaginary things to think about, but they don't bring us any happiness. A person who opens his mouth to put food in it at least gets something to put in his stomach, but a person who clambers around with his mouth open, craning his neck to swallow nothing but air, that's really ridiculous. His stomach is empty, without the least little thing to give it weight. This stands for thoughts that have no truth to them. We keep searching them out, gathering them up, and elaborating on them in various ways without getting any results out of them at all, aside from making ourselves restless and distracted. We never have any time to sit still in one place, and instead keep running and jumping around until the skin on our rears has no chance to make contact anywhere with a place to sit down. This is what is meant by, we don't get to sit on any skin. We can't lie down, we can't stay seated. Even though our bodies may be seated, our minds aren't seated there with them. We don't get to eat any meat, and instead we choke on the bones. We try to swallow them, but they won't go down. We try to cough them up, but they won't come out. When we say we choke on the bones, this refers to the various bad preoccupations that get stuck in the heart. The bones here are the 5 hindrances. 1, sensual desire. The mind gets carried away with things it likes. 2, ill will. Things that displease us are like bones stuck in the heart. The mind fastens on things that are bad, on things we dislike, until we start feeling animosity, anger, and hatred. Sometimes we even gather up old tasteless bones that have been thrown away long ago, like chicken bones that have been boiled to make stock. The meat has fallen off, the flavor has been boiled away, and all that's been left are the hard, brittle bones they throw to dogs. This stands for old thoughts, stretching back 20 to 30 years that we bring out to gnaw on. Look at yourself. Your mind is so impoverished that it has to suck on old bones. It's really pitiful. 3, torpor and lethargy. When the mind has been feeding on trash like this, with nothing to nourish it, its strength is bound to wane away. It becomes sleepy and depressed, oblivious to other people's words, not hearing their questions or understanding what they're trying to say. 4, restlessness and anxiety. The mind then gets irritable and distracted, which is followed by 5, uncertainty. We may decide that good things are bad, or bad things are good. Wrong things are right, or right things are wrong. We may do things in line with the Dhamma and not realize it, or contrary to the Dhamma, but in line with our own preconceptions and not know it. Everything gets stuck in our throat, and we can't decide which way to go. So our thoughts keep running around in circles, like a person who rows his boat around in a lake for hours and hours without getting anywhere. This is called harming yourself, hurting yourself, killing yourself. And when we can do this sort of thing to ourselves, what's to keep us from doing it to others? This is why we shouldn't let ourselves harbor thoughts of envy, jealousy, or anger. If any of these 5 hindrances arise in the heart, then trouble and suffering will come flooding in like a torrential downpour, and we won't be able to hold our own against them. All of this is because of the ignorance that keeps us from having any inner worth as a mainstay. Even though we may live in a 7 or 9-story mansion and eat food at $40 a plate, we won't be able to find any happiness. People without any inner worth are like vagrants with no home to live in. They have to be exposed to sun, rain, and wind by day and by night. So how can they find any relief from the heat or the cold? With nothing to shelter them, they have to lie curled up until their backs get all crooked and bent. When a storm comes, they need to scurry to find shelter. They can't stay under trees because they're afraid the trees will be blown down on top of them. They can't stay in open fields because they're afraid lightning will strike. At midday, the sun is so hot that they can't sit for long, like an old barefooted woman walking on an asphalt road when the sun is blazing. She can't put her feet down because she's afraid they'll blister, so she dances around in place on her tippy toes, not knowing where she can rest her feet. This is why the Buddha felt such pity for us and taught us to find shelter for ourselves by doing good and developing concentration as a principle in our hearts, so that we can have an inner home. This way we won't have to suffer, and other people will benefit as well. This is called having a mainstay. People with no mainstay are bound to busy themselves with things that have no real meaning or worth, i.e., with things that can't protect them from suffering when the necessity arises. A person without the wisdom to search for a mainstay is sure to suffer hardships. I'll illustrate this point with a story. Once there was a band of monkeys living in the upper branches of a forest, each one carrying its young wherever it went. One day, a heavy windstorm came. As soon as the monkeys heard the sound of the approaching wind, they broke off branches and twigs to make themselves a nest on one of the bigger branches. After they had piled on the twigs, they went down under the nest and looked to see if there was still any holes. Wherever they saw a hole, they piled on more twigs and branches until the whole thing was piled thick and high. Then when the wind and rain came, they got up on top of the nest, sitting there with their mouths open, shivering from the cold, exposed to the wind and rain. Their nest hadn't offered them any protection at all, simply because of their own stupidity. Eventually, a gust of wind blew the nest apart. The monkeys were scattered away every which way and ended up dangling here and there, their babies falling from their grasp, all of them thoroughly miserable from their hardship and pain. People who don't search for inner worth as their mainstay are no different from these monkeys. They work at amassing money and property, thinking that these things will give them security. But when death comes, none of these things can offer any safety at all. This is why the Buddha felt such pity for all the deluded people in the world and went to great lengths to teach us to search for inner worth as a mainstay for ourselves. People who have inner worth as their mainstay are said to be kind not only to themselves, but also to others as well. In the same way that when we have a house of our own, we can build a hut for other people to live in too. If we can see another person's hut is going to cave in, we can help find thatch to roof it, make walls for the left side, right side, the front and the back, to protect it from storm winds and raise the floor to get it above flood level. What this means is that we teach the other person how to escape from his or her own defilements in the same way that we've been able, to whatever extent, escape from ours. When we tell others to practice concentration, it's like helping them roof their house so that they won't have to be exposed to sun and rain. Making walls for the front and back means that we tell them to shut off thoughts of past and future, and walls for the left and right means that we tell them to shut off thoughts of likes and dislikes. Raising the floor above flood level means we get them to stay firmly centered in concentration, keeping their minds still with their object of meditation. Other people have a house with good walls, a sound roof, and a solid floor. Then even if they don't have any other external belongings, just a single rag to their name, they can be happy, secure, and at peace. But if your house is sunk in the mud, what hope is there for your belongings? You'll have to end up playing with crabs, worms, and other creepy things. Your walls are nothing but holes so that people can see straight through your house, in one side and out the other. Even from 4 or 5 miles away, they can see everything you've got. When this is the case, thieves are going to gang up and rob you, i.e., all sorts of bad thoughts and preoccupation are going to come in and ransack your heart. As for the roof, it's nothing but holes. You look up and see the stars. Termite dust is going to sift into your ears and eyes, and birds fly past, will plaster you with their droppings. So in the end, all you can do is sit scratching your head in misery because you haven't any shelter. When this is the case, you should take pity on yourself and develop your own inner worth. Keep practicing concentration until your heart matures, step by step. When you do this, you'll develop the light of discernment that can chase the darkness of ignorance out of your heart. When there's no more ignorance, you'll be free from craving and attachment and ultimately gain nibbana. For this reason, we should all keep practicing meditation and set our hearts on developing nothing but inner goodness without retreating or getting discouraged. Whatever is a form of goodness, roll up your sleeves and pitch right in. Don't feel any regrets, even if you ram your head into the wall and die on the spot. If you're brave in your proper efforts this way, all your affairs are sure to succeed in line with your hopes and aspirations. But if evil comes and asks to move into your home, your heart, chase it away. Don't let it stay even for a single night. People who like to gather up thoughts, worries, etc., to hold on to are no different from prisoners tied down with a ball and chain. To fasten onto thoughts of the past is like having a rope around your waist tied to a post behind you. To fasten onto thoughts of the future is like having a rope around your neck tied to a door in front. To fasten onto thoughts you like is like having a rope around your right wrist tied to a post on your right. To fasten onto thoughts you don't like is like having a rope around your left wrist tied to a wall on your left. Whichever way you try to step, you're pulled back by the rope on the opposite side. So how can you hope to get anywhere at all? As for people who have unshackled themselves from their thoughts, they stand tall and free like soldiers or warriors, with weapons in both hands and no need to fear enemies from any direction. Any opponents who see them won't dare come near, so they're always sure to come out winning. But if we're the type tied up with the ropes on all sides, nobody's going to fear us because there's no way we can take any kind of stance to fight them off. If enemies approach us, all we can do is dance around in one spot. So I ask you that we all take a good look at ourselves and try to unshackle ourselves from our outside thoughts and preoccupations. Don't let them get stuck in your heart. Your meditation will then give you results. Your mind will advance to the transcendent, and you're sure to come out winning someday. And if you have any questions, direct them to Longpa and the Ajahns.
Thank you for the beautiful reading. Does a complete letting go of a belief in a self mean that all experience ceases, or no?
No. And experience continues. But it's just the belief is, what you're doing is untangling. What you're doing is untangling the kind of the biases or prejudices or leanings of the mind. And so when you're, what's left is ideally is mindfulness and wisdom, and then wholesome, skillful qualities that one has cultivated.
Thank you. So, how do you know if the belief in an inherently existing self has completely disappeared?
Suffering and end of suffering. Just keep coming back to experience. That's the experience that's left. And you have to keep being willing to, because sometimes you'll experience this, oh wow, the mind is incredibly peaceful, spacious, bright, and I've come to the end of suffering. Well, you have to keep investigating and being willing to sort of see what's still inherent in the mind, what still is still there. What do we need to work with? And so it's around the experience of, and just saying suffering is all that the elements of discontent, dis-ease, stress, any kind of agitation or restlessness or stances that one picks up or has picked up in one's wanderings in samsara.